Hello, this is Robert Ferguson, and we're live. Now, if you catch me live or you're catching a replay, do not go anywhere because you're gonna meet one of my I'm gonna call her dear friend. She was a client, now she's a coach, but she really knows the methodology well. And you will hear directly from her how you're able to lose, let's say, 95, 100 pounds, shrink your body as far as inches, get off medications, and not feel like you're on a diet. So we're going to go ahead and get to it. And when we come back after this 10-second intro, you're going to meet my very dear friend and what I call a true success story and a demonstration of what can happen for anyone who lives a diet-free life.
Author and nutritionist Robert Ferguson. Please welcome Robert Ferguson.
All right, y'all, let's hear it for America's Fat Loss Coach, Robert Ferguson!
Boom! Like I said, we're going to get to this. Again, my name is Robert Ferguson, and before I introduce you to Miss Debbie, I want to say thank you for giving us a chance to share information with you, because our goal really is to share because we really care. And when you're watching people get off medications, you're watching people reverse their type 2 diabetes, you're seeing people who were told they're going to be on blood pressure medication for the rest of their life, and you see them get off of these meds, and you see people lose weight and get to a place that they didn't even think was possible, well, you get pretty excited about it, and you want to share that with other people. Now, again, if you're new, do us a favor and go over to our YouTube channel. And at the YouTube channel, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell so that anytime we upload lives or just videos that we believe can be a benefit to you, well, you can watch it or listen to it at your convenience. So I'm going to turn off the music. Boom. And then we're going to bring on the one and only Miss Debbie.
Hi.
I had to twist her arm, you guys, to go on live. I'm just kidding. I asked, and Debbie, you said you have no problem sharing. And I just want to say thank you for making time to do this.
No problem.
Now, before you get into it, and I just want to encourage you guys. I mean, Debbie, and the way I look at it, Debbie, when you and I have our coach calls, the way you explain things, you do it in a way that I feel like will touch a lot of people. And it will touch them in a way where it may inspire them or encourage them to actually want to do something. Right. So I'll kick it off by just sharing, and I think I shared this with you, but last Thanksgiving, I was at my mom's house and I had, the whole family was there. A lot of friends of the family was at her house. And my mom came into the living room and there were 6 people who were type 2 diabetic in the room. And my mom says out loud, because that's my mom, that my son has helped a lot of people reverse their type 2 diabetes. And when she said that, there was one lady that was like, I want to hear more about that. And then another family member jumped into the conversation and kind of took over, who is also a type 2 diabetic. And this person made it clear that, hey, I'm doing something right now, but if it doesn't work out talking to me, then I'll reach out to you. Now, this is after my mom made it clear that we are reversing type 2 diabetes. And after that, no one talked to me. No one asked. And I'm not the kind of person that's going to push it on people. And so that's why having this conversation with you, there are some people on the fence and don't even know that what you have achieved and what many have achieved and continue to achieve is actually possible.
It is possible. And I will admit I sat on the fence for a long time before I finally decided that enough was enough. And I got with it.
Okay. And when you're on the fence, is it like you would see some Facebook post or you would just kind of go, you know what, I'm thinking about reaching out to Robert. Like, what do you mean when you say sat on the fence, and then what got you off the fence?
What got me off the fence is I turned 59 and I also realized that if I don't start taking care of myself, I don't have anybody else to take care of me, and I still have my mother and my dogs to take care of. And if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of anybody else.
Mm.
And so, like I've talked to you before, I knew you when it was Food Lovers Fat Loss System. And that's when I first started your programs, was with that. I lost a lot of weight, and then my dad died. My mother came down with cancer. I became a caregiver. Stress overtook. And of course, I'm a stress eater. I'll admit that. And I just put all the weight back on, not quite as much as I lost, but I put quite a bit back on. And then I come across Diet Free again. And through the years, I had received your emails and your announcements and things like that. And I tried other programs, one connected with work, which was just it wasn't really realistic. And I did lose some weight with that, but then, you quit the program and it all comes back. And then I decided when I reached that nasty 253-pound mark that I had to do something, turned 59. And I had been getting your emails and your posts, and I had considered and considered and considered. And I finally just did it because I knew I had to.
Wow. So 253 is where you were when we started this process.
I was.
And last time we talked, which was last week, you're down 95 pounds.
95 pounds.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you dropped a significant amount of inches.
I have dropped a lot of inches. And, people who haven't seen me for a while, they say, oh, you've lost a lot of weight. And it's like, well, a little, yeah. And I don't always divulge how much I've lost to people. It just depends on who they are. If they're people I know well, who have known me for a while, then I do tell them how much I've lost. And we talk about it. So, but people that I don't really know well and I don't really want them to know, I just say, yeah, I've lost a few pounds.
Right. Okay. And getting off medications.
And getting off medications, that's been a really big one. That's been good.
Now, when you got so blood pressure is one of the meds you got off of, right?
I did.
Now, did your doctor ever tell you years ago when you were on blood pressure medication that you'll probably be on this for the rest of your life? Did you understand it that way?
He did, because my dad was on blood pressure medication for years. All of my sisters that he sees are on blood pressure medication. My mother was on it for a time. She's now off of it. I have, just a lot of history with blood pressure medication. And he just says, you'll probably be on it for the rest of your life, so get used to it. And I thought, I don't think so. I don't like this. Because it did make me feel a little funny.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're off of it. Now, because you had done Food Lovers, right? Because I have people who did Food Lovers. I wrote a book called Diet Free for Life.
Right.
And in that methodology, like when I created Food Lovers, that was in 2005.
Right.
And we came to market in 2009. And then I began writing a book. And the methodology then was eat every 2 to 3 hours for everybody.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, unless they're being coached by me or one of our coaches, people aren't aware of a lot of the updates because the science was good, but we've made it better.
Right.
So, not eating every 2 to 3 hours is not ideal for everyone. So was it hard for you when you transitioned from the old way of understanding the methodology to the new way?
It was a little confusing because it had been eat every 2 to 3 hours. And then it's all of a sudden, okay, 3 meals and a snack. Okay. All right. This must be a change. Okay, we can do this. And honestly, I like the 3 meals and a snack because between breakfast and lunch, I'm not always hungry, except for on the days I work, because I eat breakfast at 4:30 in the morning. And my first break comes at about 7:45. And by then, my tummy is complaining and saying, you need to feed me something. And then I do eat again 3 hours later, and then 3 hours after that. But then I go from my afternoon snack to dinner time without eating anything, but I do start to feel a little hungry.
Right.
So, the days that I work, it's a long day, and I can't do it with just 3 meals and a snack. And
Right.
so I do make allowances for that, but my snacks and my meals all follow the methodology.
Perfect. Now, this was intriguing when I first talked to you, right? And we started working because where you worked at the time and some of the people you were around, they were doing a different diet. Same as a lot of people around, people doing different diets.
Right.
And a lot of those people that you were around, they weren't really getting the results that they wanted. And
no, not really.
And it was kind of tough, but they were watching you shrink. Like, and they saw you eating, and they're like, wow, you're eating that? Like talk about the difference, because some people want to lose weight or they're currently on some crazy diet where they feel restricted, whereas you have freedom, because a lot of people, they don't believe that you could eat the way you ate or have eaten and continue to eat and lose 95 pounds.
Right. Well, a lot of people, because of the culture that I live in, we don't drink coffee. It's mostly soda. And so the typical breakfast that you see at work is like a soda and a candy bar or a bag of chips and things like that. And so, here I am with my fruit snack and everything, and people are kind of looking and they say, well, you're eating different, but you're losing weight. It's like, yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. I said, and I tell them that they could lose weight too if they really wanted to. Oh, but I don't want to give up my soda. One guy, he said, well, I don't want to cook. It's like, well, you can still lose weight and not cook. And there have been several that have said, well, I don't know if I can do that. You have to give up too much. I just kind of look at him and say, does it look like I'm giving up anything? I'm eating what I want and what I like. Now, I have to make it clear that because of the fact that I have rheumatoid arthritis, I have given up on my own. This is not required of the program, the methodology, or anything else. I have given up fried food and most refined sugars, because those are two of the big inflammatory ingredients that people eat. And I will tell you, I feel much, much better having given those things up. It is possible to have fried food if you want. It is possible to have some refined sugars if you want. I've chosen to give those up due to health concerns, and I have felt much better because of it. And people just can't believe that if I wanted a piece of cake, I can have a piece of cake. Or if I want to have, cookies or a candy bar or something, that I can have that. That it's not a deprivation. I don't deprive myself of anything I want. I do eat what I want, but I have made choices because I've had to.
Well, I was talking to one of my clients yesterday, and she was like, Robert, this is the easiest thing I've ever done.
It is easy.
Okay.
You just have to make choices.
Now, would you say that's education? Because as you said, if you're not aware of something, right, then you're ignorant to it.
Right.
And part of awareness is being aware. So you've made them aware, but the learning curve, there's a little bit of education so that they can then learn how to eat their foods in the right combinations and all the things that you've learned.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely a lot of education that goes on, and a lot of those aha moments when it finally clicks and you say, oh, yeah, I can do that. And you do make choices. You read the list of foods that you can eat, and you go, oh, okay. And you read what really is fascinating is when you divide the foods into their individual groups. And every food has a group. It doesn't matter what it is, it has a group. And that is fascinating to a lot of people. It says, oh, well, I've never known that food had groups. And a lot of people, when you're on a diet, you eat steamed chicken and steamed vegetables, broccoli and cauliflower mostly, and that's it. Well, I like a lot of different vegetables and I eat them. And people are just amazed that I'm losing weight, but I still have in my lunchbox what I want. I have had to make the rule, though, that if it doesn't come out of my lunchbox, I don't eat it. At work, sometimes they're passing out cookies and donuts and pizza from places that I don't really like. I do eat pizza occasionally, but not very often. But people are saying, oh, you can't have that. I said, no, I choose not to have that.
That's right. Yep.
I choose not to have it. And it's a matter of making those choices. But I had to make the rule that if it doesn't come out of my lunchbox, I don't eat it, because there are food pushers everywhere. And it's amazing how many people respect you for your decision not to eat some things after they understand why.
Well, I mean, I guess that would be the same as if someone's an alcoholic and they choose not to drink alcohol.
Well, yeah.
Then people, eventually once they understand that they have those guidelines, and people back off. But like you said, you will have food pushers, and they will.
You will have food pushers. And sometimes, sad to say, your family is the worst.
Well, amen to that. Everybody knows that one.
Oh, I made this just for you because I know it's your favorite. One bite won't hurt you. No, one bite might not, but 2 and 3 and 4 and so on will. And so you have to set limits for yourself, what you know you need as far as limits. And so I've had to set those limits. And it doesn't just apply to lunchbox. It applies to if I go to family dinners. I have to really be careful there too, because it is not a happy place sometimes with all the, inappropriate food that my family likes to prepare.
Right.
So,
well, isn't it interesting when you're around people like that? They will eat the foods that we know aren't helping them. In the same breath, they will complain about how they feel and how they wish things were different, but yet they will keep eating the same things. Isn't that the definition of insanity?
You mean doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting different results?
Yeah, or maybe they don't expect different results. They just want to stay right. It's like you ever hear the story about the dog that was on the porch, and every time this guy would walk past the dog was moaning, and the dog like in pain. Yeah. And he finally went up to the people and says, "Hey, your dog is in a lot of pain. I've been walking by here every day for a week, and he's constantly moaning, and you can tell he's in pain." And the people says, "Yeah, we know." And he goes, well, don't you want to do something about it? Nah, he likes lying down on that nail. So sometimes, and I'm not saying this to be mean to anyone, but sometimes people will just stay stuck because that's more comfortable than being open to anything else. And then I'll also say, because I know you have some comments on this, that sometimes people, they've watched you lose 95 pounds. They've watched you improve your energy. They've watched you drop inches and just thrive. They see that you're not missing anything. You're eating exactly what you want to eat. You now know how to eat it in the right combinations and all of that. But yet they still remain stuck and not join you. That's the part that since 1995 I've been doing this. I'm still trying to figure that out. There's people who will hear our interview. I could tell them all day long. I could bring on 1,000 people that lost 100+ pounds, eating great foods, not giving up the things they love, and they still won't do anything. What's your thoughts on that?
The reason for that is it's hard losing weight. It's hard deciding to lose the weight, and it's hard not eating all the things you really want, like the junk food. Mm-hmm. And it's easier to continue doing the same things over and over and over again than it is to try to change. It's easier to just say, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll get around to it, or just, well, I'm happy the way I am. I think I'll stay this way. When they're lying, you're not happy that way. And for a lot of people, it just boils down to it's just easier to not rock the boat. It's just easier. And more people than not say, oh, I don't have your willpower. And what they don't understand is there's really no willpower here.
I love that you said that, because 1,000, it's not about willpower. It really is about education and just knowing how to do it.
It is. And once you become educated on the benefits of certain foods, and not just the benefits, but also the detriments to certain foods, then it becomes a little bit easier. But a lot of people think that it takes great willpower to lose weight, and it really doesn't. It just takes a little bit of knowledge.
Well, someone just made a post. They said, it's easier not to put effort in bettering oneself.
That's true. That's true. And it's also easier to criticize others for not improving rather than it is to look in the mirror and say, maybe you need to improve.
Right.
It's always easier to point out the faults in somebody else than it is to accept the fact that maybe you have faults yourself. So,
wow. Yeah, well, that's real. Well, you definitely took the bull by the horns. If there was someone who's like you were, they're sitting around, they're 253 pounds, they really know they want to do something different, but they're stuck. And if you could talk to them, you're stuck with them on a plane, and you got 5 minutes before the plane lands, and they say, tell me about it, Debbie. What would you say to them to help them consider getting off the fence, or like standing up and taking action and doing something?
Well, that I know of a way that they could lose weight and still enjoy the foods that they like, to be able to do the things they want to do, that this program is so easy that it's a shame not to try it, and that the foods you get to eat are the foods that you eat every day. There's no special foods. There's no special requirements. That it's just real food. It's everything that you would just go to the store and buy. You don't have to special order it. It's not something that you get on the internet and say, oh, gee, let's pull this program up and choose meals and have them sent to the house. This is real food that you eat every day. It's just different how you combine your foods and how much. My food scale and my measuring cups are my best friends, because I weigh and measure everything. And that way I know I get sufficient and I don't get too much. And it is an easy program to follow.
Well, you know what's kind of sad about what you just said? That is, you had to, and I do the same thing. You said you eat real food. Isn't it crazy that we live in a world right now where we actually have to say it's real food, right? You would think it's kind of like the people who are married. They go, oh, yeah, I'm happily married. Like, isn't it sad that we have to actually, have an adjective that says, well, what is my marriage like? Same as like, it's real food, meaning it's not overly processed or like some
okay. That's the difference between real food and the other food. Is real food is the food that you actually, it's alive, it's real. It doesn't come out of a box. It doesn't come out of the freezer. Now, certainly, if that's the way you choose to eat, you can still lose weight on that kind of food. You just have to read a lot of labels. And I've been to the market tons of times, and the frozen section never ceases to amaze me. You can walk down those aisles And, I figure that if you start at the very beginning and you pull a meal and buy enough for 1 week, you won't have to eat the same meal ever for at least a year. There's so much processed and frozen foods that you don't have to. Personally, I choose to shop in the produce section and the other sections. I don't do frozen food. I eat real food as opposed to processed food.
Okay. Well, I'm being respectful to your time, so I have 5 questions for you, and then we can be done. Is that okay?
That's fine.
And this first one is I want your opinion.
Sure.
So, no, everybody's cool with whatever everybody has an opinion, right?
Everybody has opinions. They're kind of like armpits. Everybody has at least 2, and sometimes they stink.
Okay, I like that. That's better. That's better than what you hear other people say. Like, the one everybody has a bum, and sometimes they say it differently. But there's quite a few ways of losing weight, and you mentioned that. We focus on the weight coming from fat. A lot of programs, their focus is on losing weight, but because the consumer is ignorant, that means they're unaware, they're not educated. When they step on the scale and that weight is going down, they have no idea that the majority of their weight that they're losing is coming from skeletal muscle, bone, and water.
Right.
That's what's happening with these weight loss drugs. There's a popular program sold as network marketing called Optavia.
I've read about that one.
I believe, in my personal opinion, that is one of the most egregious, most harmful weight loss programs out there, and it's sold by people that win the trust of other people. And you're eating a lot of barcode type food.
Right.
And we've done our own internal clinicals. I've seen all the data on it, that the majority of the weight loss on the scale is not fat weight. It's muscle, bone, and water. Now,
and we can't afford to lose muscle and we can't afford to lose bone.
So I wanted your opinion, because I'll have clients tell me that. I had one client, she went to the doctor. She had dropped a significant amount of body fat. She got off blood pressure medication. She was off metformin, for this highly recommended for diabetics. She was looking her best. She was feeling great. And the physician assistant said, "Wow, you look good. You should get on the weight loss drug, Ozempic." And then I had another client who had a lady watch her lose about 50 pounds. And she says, "Man, you're a success story. You should do the Optavia, because you can make money, right? You can get people and you can kind of coach people on this program and you can make money." And she's like, "What? I'm eating real food. I'm happy with what I'm doing." So if someone came to you, Debbie, with the weight loss drug or Optavia, and they go, "All right, you're down 95 pounds with this eating real food and all that. That's great, but you should do our program instead," what would Debbie say?
Debbie would say, "Why should I try to fix something that is working for me? It's not broke. Why would I fix it?" It's kind of silly to change something that's working.
Okay.
I would probably say, "Oh, do you work at Schreiber Foods?" Because we're always trying to fix something that ain't broken.
Well, it's kind of like when we were talking about, get your supplements, look for that ingredient, DL-alpha tocopherol.
Right.
Because we know it's associated with cancer.
Right.
And one lady actually saw it in her products, and it's a product that she gets from a multi-level marketing company.
Uh-huh.
And so my question was, or my thought was, wow, now that she knows what she knows, will she keep selling it? And what I've noticed, Debbie, is that people will keep selling something even though it's not healthy for their customers, and they'll keep doing it because they're compromised like a politician to make money. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm sorry, but that's a hypocrite. That is not, if you know it's bad for you and you're selling it for money, you need to figure out another way to make your money, because that's not right. It's just, it's not. If you're selling something that causes cancer and they can trace it back to the product that you sold, there's every grounds for a lawsuit there.
That's true.
There is every grounds for a lawsuit.
That's true. I'm actually going to do a talk on that because there's a lot of ingredients in foods and products that we know are bad, same as we knew about trans fats.
Right.
And a lot of people, they go back to the government, they go, well, if it's that bad, Robert, why would it still be in the food supply? Why would it still be in a supplement if it's that bad?
The almighty dollar.
The almighty dollar. And, like there's a guy named Dr. Kumaro who's no longer with us, but he's the one that got trans fats out of the food supply.
And I thank him for that.
Yes. And I want to do something really special for him because he was in his 90s and he sued the FDA. And he sued them, and they went to the court, and he proved conclusively that trans fats were killing about 50,000 people in America, just America, prematurely every year. And he won. And that was in 2013, 2015, everything had they had to agree upon it. And in 2018, trans fats were removed from our food supply thanks to Dr. Kumaro. One person. Now, we can't all, I don't have the funds to go and sue the government.
No.
But what we can do is keep educating people.
We can. And, my aha moment came one day. Now, I'm sure everybody remembers those things called Hostess.
Yes. I haven't had a Hostess in years, but I
haven't had a Hostess in years either. I used to love those little fruit pies. Oh, man, they were good. Until I became educated on reading food labels.
Ooh, the fruit pies. I forgot about those.
The lemon. I loved lemon fruit pies.
Oh, man. Yes,
I picked it up one day, and I turned it over, and I started reading. And I put it back down, and I haven't had one since.
Wow. I haven't thought about one in years since you just brought it up.
And, you look at them, and I also have other rules, especially when I go to the grocery store and I'm looking for a certain product, and I do read food labels. If I turn a can over to look at what's inside and I start reading the ingredients and I can't pronounce all the words, then I don't need to be eating it. If I can't pronounce every word of every ingredient that's in that can or whatever, then it goes back on the shelf, which is another reason I go to the produce section and I buy potatoes and broccoli and cauliflower because, hey, they have one ingredient. I can read those words. But if you turn the cans over and some of the canned soups are the worst. If it starts with words that I can't pronounce correctly, then I put it back on the shelf. We shouldn't be eating things that we can't say.
Well, there you go. You sound like Jack LaLanne. That was one of his things.
Jack LaLanne was an amazing man. I do remember Jack LaLanne.
Yeah, and I am very honored. I'm telling you, one day when you and I talk, if you have time, ask me, and I'm actually going to do an hour podcast where I'm going to just share all the things I learned from Jack LaLanne. Because, I remember as a kid watching him on television doing his exercise routines. I remember that. And that was a long time ago. Well, okay. Well, I got 2 more questions for you. Okay. So as you were dropping the weight to get to where you are now, 95 pounds down, a lot of inches off medications, you hit a stall, and most people will stall at one point. Right. And when you stalled, I encourage you to, give the detox drop a shot. Yep. Because I had seen people break their stall. So your thoughts on the detox drop, pros and cons, if there's any, I'm just curious, we've talked about it, but what do you think about the detox drop? Well, I do like this version of the detox drop better than the other versions of the detox drop. Good, because you did the other one. Good job. I did the 6-day, and I even have the little booklet here somewhere. It's nice. Because I keep that booklet because it's got the carrot ginger soup recipe in it. Yes, and thanks to you, I actually published that for everybody else. And I do like that soup recipe. I also did the other one, I believe it was 12 days. Yep. And I didn't like
the supplements that went along with those particular ones, the psyllium husks and the aloe vera juice. I didn't care for those, and I felt it was a little restrictive, which of course a detox needs to be restrictive. But this one, I liked the supplements. They were easy to take once a day. I don't mind the lemon water. As a matter of fact, I do that every day anyway. And you're eating real food. I did teach myself to eat Greek yogurt and avocados.
Nice.
And I do like them, and I do eat them most days now. I thought it was easy to follow, and it just makes you feel good. I had a little bit of a headache right at the beginning, but not too bad. I don't get headaches very often, so there has to be a reason I have a headache, and it didn't last for long. And I felt much better. And I had less pain. When you get older, you have the old age pain, the osteo stuff, and there's not a whole lot you can do about that. But I had less pain.
Awesome.
And so I really liked it, and I think it's worth it. Now, you mentioned that I hit a plateau. It hit a stall in the weight loss, and I went from 253 to 162 or 3 before I hit that. I had dropped consistently. So I went a lot of weight without hitting a stall using the methodology. And I knew that the last 10 pounds was going to be hard. And the detox did help break that.
Nice.
So I would encourage people to use it.
Now, I know you have your goal. How many pounds are you away from the big goal that you set?
9.
All right.
8 or 9.
Okay. So basically you'll be down at what? 105 pounds?
150. I'll be down 105 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
By the time I finish losing what I need to. And I'm aware that the last 10 pounds can take me forever to lose.
No,
you always have to have something to be working on.
Yes.
Because a lot of people get to their goal weight and then they go, now what?
Right.
And that's what happens with a lot of other diets is you get to your goal weight and you hear people say, oh, I can't wait until I'm down to where I want to be because then I can have everything you've given up. And that's where the problem comes in is everything you gave up to lose the weight, you're going to go back to eating. And you know what? Along with that food comes the weight.
And that's what those are called diets.
Those are diets.
All right.
They begin as deprivations.
Mm-hmm.
Those are deprivations. They're not necessarily diets. They're deprivations.
That would be the true me. You're right. So I have one more question.
Okay.
So I'm going to preface it by saying there's a lot of people out there promoting different ways to lose weight. You have intermittent fasting where you don't eat in the morning. And if you were talking to someone who did that, they would swear by it. They'd go, Debbie, just don't eat for, this many hours. So you're going to eat for 8 hours.
That would work.
Right. And you're going to lose weight. And then you have the people who say avoid food groups. Just don't eat another carb. Right.
Well, that's silly.
And you'll lose weight. What happens and what's so interesting is that if a person's not informed, even though you've lost 95 pounds eating, not fasting, there are people that would say, oh, you couldn't have lost 95 pounds and you still ate breakfast. You could not lose 95 pounds and you still ate carbs. You cannot lose 95 pounds without like walking around hangry all the time.
Right.
What would you have to say to that? Because you did. You ate.
That's exactly what I would say. I did it. If you want to deprive yourself of these things, that's fine. And to me, fasting it's not fasting, it's starving, first of all. Going anywhere without breakfast in the morning, that would go against everything I was raised with. My mother never let us leave the house in the morning without at least a piece of toast. You had to have breakfast before you left the house, or you didn't leave the house. And, to this day, I eat breakfast before I leave the house unless I'm headed to the doctor for blood tests. And then I have breakfast about as quick as I'm done. And as far as giving up carbs, that's just silly. The brain has to have carbs. If you don't eat carbs and feed the brain, your body's going to rob your muscles and your bones for what it needs. It becomes kind of a parasite, and it feeds off of itself. And if you do away with the carbs, all you're doing is depriving your body of the vital nutrients that it needs.
Well, there's people that would argue with you on that.
And they can argue, but it won't change my mind.
Right, because you know what I mean? Like, you can't deny what your experience has given you.
Right.
But there's still people that would go, nah, she don't know what she's talking about.
And that's fine. They can do that.
I mean, it's so crazy to me that people, like, I'll sit there and go, like, many times I'll be in a room with different experts in their areas of expertise around losing weight or being healthier. And they'll say, well, Robert, we promote intermittent fasting. I go, okay, so for every person that does intermittent fasting that loses, let's say, 50 pounds, I can match you with someone who ate. So, like, why are you trying to say that intermittent fasting is the end all be all? Because the reality is, I eat breakfast, my clients eat breakfast, and we're all losing weight and feeling good.
Right.
The difference, and I know you know this, Debbie, and I'm sharing this for those who are chiming in with us, is education.
It boils down to education, yes.
Okay.
And you have to educate yourself on what is, just like you need to be your own health advocate when you go to the doctor's office and say, is there a better way? Can I not take this medication? Is there something I can do to avoid it? Most doctors will say, oh, no, you have to have it. And I say, I don't think so. Right. So now there are sometimes you say, okay, we'll take the medication, but we're going to figure a way out.
Right.
Which is what I've done.
Well, you are strong. And if we can get more people like you to become their own health advocate, less people would be on medications. And more people would have freedom with food.
Right. Well, you look at health insurance costs today, and you have to do something because people can't continue to afford all the healthcare costs. It's just ridiculous. And I look at that and I say, no, we're not going to go there because we can't afford the end result, which would be, let's say, cancer. You get cancer and you might as well be medically bankrupt because that's what's going to happen. That's and true. If you can avoid cancer, then, you need to do what you can.
All right. Well, Debbie, we have one person ask a question. I'm going to throw it to you and then we'll say goodbye to everybody. So Brat Cat says, thank you, Debbie. I am on 2 blood pressure pills. You give me hope.
Well, to Brat Cat, I would say, do what you have to do to get off of the blood pressure medication. Monitor your own blood pressure at home so that your doctor can see where you're headed. And that's how I convinced my doctor that I needed to be off the blood pressure medications. I monitored every day, 2 and 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. Wrote it down in a little book. And when I went to the doctor for my next appointment, I took that little book and the doctor was looking at it and he looked at it and he watched it go from way high, even with the medications, to way low. And that was starting to get off the medications. About halfway through, when my blood pressure was where I wanted it to be, I started giving up the medication. And you can't do it all at once. You just can't say, oh, this is it. Mm-hmm. You have to wean yourself off. And by the time I got back to the doctor for my next appointment, I was armed with my numbers. He says, you're right, give it up. I says, oh, I already did. And he laughed because he
Nice.
knows me well enough to know that I'm going to do what I want to do. And it's not going to matter too much once I make my mind up.
And
So,
I would
so
second that, but I would also say Brad Cat, because she may just go and do intermittent fasting hearing us talk.
no, don't do intermittent fasting because that's just starving yourself. You'll deprive your body of the important things you need. You have to eat wisely so that your body can thrive. Educate yourself on the foods that you can eat to bring your blood pressure down. What
Well,
the things you can do.
she can contact me, and you're a coach now, and our next step with you is to get you working with some people. And who knows, maybe based on your schedule, I can connect Brad Cat with you. But she definitely should get with someone, reach out to us so she can learn the methodology
Yes,
and
definitely.
apply it so that she can be successful. And maybe she is. I can only go by what name they have. She may even be a client right now. I don't know, but
Yeah,
there's no need
that
to
would
stay on
be
these meds.
that would be a good thing to do because it does help having somebody in your corner.
Amen.
And from my experience with it is it really motivates you when you have to be accountable. When you're going to make a phone call and say, yep, these are my numbers today, and you have to explain why they're improved and what maybe happened because maybe they're not improved or what's going on, why certain things aren't working the way they're working, and tweak the program a little bit here and there. It does help to have somebody to talk to about it all and to help guide you through the process, through the education of learning what you can do to help yourself.
There you go, people. You heard it from the one and only Miss Debbie. Thank you for giving me time. I appreciate you sharing.
No problem.
You are an inspiration. I really enjoy working with you, and I've learned a lot from you.
I've learned much from you, and I'm even reading books that I never thought I'd read to get my education so that I can understand things just a little bit more.
Well, there you go. All right, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. We're signing off, me and Miss Debbie. And until the next one, right? You can always go to dietfreelife.com to learn more about what we do, or even if you just have questions, we are here to help you. It's a big part of our outreach. So we welcome any questions that you have. You don't have to be a client to learn certain things. We're there for you. So thank you, Debbie.
Uh-huh.
Until the next one, you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.